So here we are asked to determine algebraically whether a function is even, odd, or neither. So you do have to do it algebraically, so you have to show me using negative x's and stuff like that, as you should know from class. But to show if something is even, we need to show that f of negative x is the same as f of x. And if something is odd, then f of negative x is the same as negative f of x. So what we typically want to do when we're doing these is find out what f of negative x is, and then we check it to see if that matches f of x. And if it doesn't, then we go and we find negative f of x and we compare that. So I'll show you how to do that with a here. So a, f of x equals 5x cubed. So we have, come on, hold on. All right, so we have f of x equals 5x cubed. So the first thing I'm going to do is find f of negative x, and that is 5, and then I'm going to open parenthesis. I'm going to replace the x with a negative x, and then I'm going to cube it. Now, you should know what happens here with this negative, but I'll show you down here anyway. We've got negative x times negative x times negative x. It's a triple negative. There's lots of ways to think about the triple negative. I think the easiest way might be to say we can reorder all of these things. So I've got a negative times a negative times a negative times an x times an x times an x. The first two negatives, these two right here, they cancel with each other. So they turn into a positive, right? It's a double negative, it's positive. And then I'm left with one remaining negative, and then there's three x's being multiplied, so we get x cubed. So what that's going to give me here is a 5 times a negative x cubed, which is just going to redistribute to negative 5 times x cubed like that. So now what we do is we take this thing and we compare it to the original one right here. Notice, and that is to check really to see if it is even. So is that the same, sorry, is this right here the same as this right here? Nope, they're not. You might see that we're going to go down the odd route. So at this point, it's not even. So to check to see if it's odd, I'm going to now find, and I'll do it in green, negative f of x. And that is negative times this right here. So I get 5x cubed. Notice these two are the same. So therefore, this thing is odd. So hopefully that makes sense. And remember, if I had gotten here and it was the same as the original piece, then I would have stopped. Once I know something's even, I don't bother to check to see if it's odd. So let's go on and do B. I'll do the same thing. And this one's a little bit more tricky because of the way that the fractions are. But I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway right here. F of negative x is a negative x. That's just changing the top. And then a negative x squared plus 3. So that simplifies to negative x over, here I get a double negative. You can make the same logic as we did down here. We get an x squared plus a 3. Now, this is where the fractions are a little bit weird, and sometimes people forget the way that these work, but I can take this and write it as negative x over x squared plus 3. And the reason why I'm going to do that is because it makes it easier to compare to this thing. You can see that this is not the same as that, and you may recognize, all right, well, looks like it might be odd. So let's go ahead and check in green negative f of x, and that is negative, and then the fraction is x over x squared plus 3. And notice that is exactly the same as this. So we get the same conclusion, that these two are the same and that it is odd. And in case you didn't like what I did here, I'm going to quickly talk about why I can pull that piece out. If I have negative 3 over 4 or negative 4 over 3, then that is just a negative 3/4. I have 1, so I on the top or 1 on the bottom, I can move it out front. That's what I did here. I just had the 1 on the top and I moved it out front. some people want to, or some people think, sometimes will think that this negative applies into both of them, like the distributive property. But notice if I've got a negative in the top and negative in the bottom, that negative there, they will cancel with each other because there's two of them, and negative 3 divided by a negative 4. So that's why I was able to pull this piece out. There you go. Hopefully you're feeling good with even and odds.